Hey, World Entertainment. And of course, Gladiator II is now currently out everywhere on the big screen. It's been out for, this will be its third weekend coming in the rest of the world internationally, and it'll only be its second weekend in the US. But we've been saying for a while now that Ridley Scott really should just retire, basically. That he's lost it. He really doesn't have it anymore. He doesn't understand the franchises he's working on anymore. Now, Gladiator, even though the articles all say, oh, it's been really well received and the critics and everybody loves it, and that's really not the case. I've only heard of one person who actually thought it was okay. Everyone else has been pretty much saying, yeah, it's a bit of a disaster. And we now have a story about the cinematographer who has worked with Ridley Scott for decades, has now called him out and said flat out that Ridley Scott in his filming process has just become impatient and lazy, and it's affected the movies that he works on. And it's not in the case of it's affected the stories and stuff. You know, it's one thing for him to do what we're going to look at on what's said here to screw up a movie. It's another to do stories that really just shouldn't be told. Now, again, Ridley Scott's one of those weird directors where if the story's not his, if it's all the script and stuff is already in place and they just bring him on board to direct it, he normally does pretty well, or at least he used to. It's usually when it's his own ideas that you start getting crap like Covenant and Prometheus and whatnot. But the fact now that this guy is calling him out, and for what the extra work he's putting onto these guys is ridiculous. Now, what's interesting is what we're going to hear the cinematographer say. And then remember that one of the, I think he was a producer or something on Gladiator 2, was boasting that, hey, we made this movie in 50 days. Something ridiculous like that. But check this out. So it's saying this. Filmmaker Ridley Scott returned to helm Gladiator 2 and reviews have been positive. Not really. The sequel probably won't be an Oscar contender, but it is a fan-pleasing action flick. No, it isn't. However, cinematographer John Mathieson doesn't have anything good to say about his reunion with Scott. They worked together on Gladiator, the first one that is, along with several of Scott's other movies, including Hannibal, Matchstick Men, Kingdom of Heaven, and Robin Hood. However, talking on the Doc Fix documentary storytelling podcast, holy Jesus, is that a name to say? Mathieson shared his disappointment with what he saw from Scott during their Gladiator 2 collaboration, explaining that Scott now shoots scenes with multiple cameras. He called the filmmaker's process, this is him now, really lazy, adding, it's the CGI elements now of tidying up, leaving things in shot, cameras in shot, microphones in shot, bits of set hanging down, shadows from booms, and they just said on Gladiator 2, well, clean it up. He is quite impatient, so he likes to get as much as he can at once. It's not very good for cinematography, he noted, explaining that it means you can only light from one angle. Now, that's interesting, that part, what he's saying about the light, that because of the shadows that get cast and stuff, to cover it up you have to use other elements, obviously, and it means you can only direct light from one particular angle. So if they're shooting something and the sun comes in from one area and it's setting shadows in that one direction, but the boom, say for the instance a boom mic, its shadow is being put on from the lights that they're using and it's shining in another direction, it means to cover that up they have to find a source to go in that direction that the sun is going in. So that's what he's talking about there. But he continued anyway saying, look at older films and getting depth into things was very much part of lighting. You can't do that with a lot of cameras, but he just wants to get it all done. Having lots of cameras I don't think has made the films any better. It's a bit rush. That's changed in him. But that's the way he wants to do it, and I don't like it, and I don't think many people do. But people love his films, and he's Ridley Scott and can do what he wants. People want to shoot multiple cameras because they got lots of performances and they put lots of people in, but there's not the care. Now it is this thing of generally covering stuff rather than me being the cook cooking you something wonderful in my kitchen downstairs. You just go to the supermarket and get one of those really big trolleys. You just put your arm on the shelf and just chuck all the stuff in, and we'll sort it out later. So that's what he's talking about now, that because Ridley Scott, he's just rushing through everything. And again, this is where it gets worrying when that producer guy was bragging, hey, we shot this in 50 days. The fact that, if he's setting up multiple cameras, rushing through everything, and his fix for it is just use your computer and fix it, that means he's probably only taking 1 or 2 takes at best. And he's setting up all these cameras so he doesn't have to do multiple takes. It's not the case of, well, we'll shoot it from this angle. Okay, cut. Now set up on this other angle. No, he's just putting cameras everywhere just to get all the angles covered right away in one go. Then he has all the booms coming in, shadows, and basically his attitude seems to be, don't worry about any of the shadows or anything in the frame. We'll just digitally remove it. And it's throwing extra work onto the cinematographer. And that's what he's talking about. So you think about it. Ridley Scott's rushing through to film the thing. The producers and stuff are out there bragging how quickly they filmed it. But these guys didn't have the easy job. These guys were rushed then to try and clean up the movie. Take all the mistakes out of it. Get rid of the cameras from the shots. The set pieces that were hanging down and visible. The boom mics. Probably an extra that wasn't meant to be in the shot. Maybe one of the crew members who's not meant to be in the shot. All this stuff. And Ridley Scott's just going, get it done. Like, yeah, it's not really a great way to make your movies. And it's probably why his movies are suffering. Because he's not really paying attention to the material or the story or anything like that. Doesn't even care about what angle's best and how many takes to do. It's really, let's just get it done and get the hell out of here. Yeah, not a great look. So, he's finally gotten called out. And someone actually that works with him has put him on blast. So it's no longer just us saying this dude's lost his touch. Now there's someone who's worked with him on multiple films saying the same thing. At 87, I think it's time he calls it a day. So let us know in the comments what you think about Ridley Scott. And with that, I'll leave it there for this one. So cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.